I am the head of growth of an AI startup, and on our first month, we got a 1-to-1 ratio of CAC to cash collected on our influencer campaign. In other words, if we spend 100K in 1 month, we collect 100K within that same month on a subscription payment plan. And I've personally been on both sides. I've been the influencer and also the builder of the influencer strategy of an AI startup. And by the end of this video, you will understand why most influencer programs failed and how we structured our influencer program to get an 11-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio in the first month. So sporadic sponsorships kill your campaigns. And by sporadic, I mean things that occur at irregular intervals or only in a few places. Before I joined Synapse as the head of growth and I ran our influencer campaigns, I was a content creator responsible for generating about 80% of online views for a software company, which for now we can just call it Harmony. And based on what a director of sales in Harmony mentioned, I was 8 times more efficient in getting online traction for them than their next influencer or salesman that they had. Yet they would only sponsor me about twice a year, only when there was a product update. And even though they were only sponsoring me 2 times a year, I was still publishing 300 pieces of content a week without compensation, which I know is completely crazy. But I was selling a course about their software at the time, so they knew that I was going to post about their tool anyway. But I personally do not think that $100 million a year company should be that short-sighted. And because they treated this as a free channel, the results were short-lived. I basically got frustrated with the lack of collaboration from their side, and when their competitors came, it was super easy for me to switch. And since I only posted about Harmony for about 3 years, I had a large community of their users in my distribution channels, which generated more than 300 million views. So when I started making content for their competitors, a huge number of the users switched. And this is exactly how Harmony turned me from an asset of theirs into a liability. Now, here's the thing. Influencer marketing is just not about just posting content and publishing videos or posts. It's about mutual ongoing value. And basically when companies ignore this fact, the mutual ongoing value, they lose an acquisition channel that brought 30 million eyeballs to them. Now, knowing all of this, here's how I took this lesson from the past and applied it in our campaigns with Synapse. First of all, I went ahead and found small to medium influencers with high potential. Basically, high potential would mean that these would be content creators that might have started recently or less than 3 months ago, but they have grown very fast. I was super upfront about not being able to provide the largest compensation as of now because we were a startup that haven't even launched or done revenue yet. But instead of giving them large budgets, I was able to offer reliable compensation that they can count on every single month. Because most small to medium influencers are unable to create a stable recurring income, so we are able to fill that gap for them. We pay them for a fixed monthly fee for a fixed number of posts per month, and this allows us to find winning formats a lot faster. Then, when we sponsor a single video with a macro influencer, which costs more, obviously, we'll have a better bet, we'll have a better idea on what would perform best because of the lessons that we have learned from micro influencer campaigns. So in my opinion, doing sporadic or one-off campaigns, especially in the beginning and especially with smaller influencers, truly kills partnerships. Basically, in other words, collaborating only when there is a product update, which is what most software companies do, will not allow for experimentation with different packaging, topics, hooks, etc. And it doesn't allow the influencer to truly commit to fully promote your product long term and actually build a bond with that audience. Now, even based on this, what we've done in terms of prospecting and creating an offer for influencers, there's still things that I would improve. I'm still working on actually creating a good affiliate program where influencers get a commission per sale. And I think we'll do this probably this month. And I'm sure that this will strengthen the offer that I make to the influencer and increase their incentives to perform. Now, Harmony wasn't my only collaborator as a content creator. I was sponsored by over 13 software companies, and I've been harsh enough to Harmony so far, so let me call out all of the other software companies that I worked with as well. Now, most of them have a content manager that is completely disconnected with companies' finances. And basically what happens with most teams that manage influencer campaigns is that they have a cap of maximum spend per influencer, and as long as the content creator doesn't ask for more than that cap, They will just agree on any figure that anyone throws out there. Then, after they wasted the budget, even the content that is delivered by the influencers has no standard quality checks from the influencer marketing strategist or manager. In fact, I've had influencer marketing managers ask me to send my posts for a review before they were out there and published, just because it was a company policy. And then they would reply to me by saying, "This looks great, let's post it live." And I would later check the video analytics and it had 0 views. They wouldn't even click the video or watch it through. They would just do it because it was a company policy. Now, this may still get results if you had luck to run through some good-hearted influencer and they still gave the maximum effort either way, because you cannot measure effort. You can only measure results, or you can only measure hooks. But most will just put the least amount of effort in order to get the payment clear. In this instance, the influencer. So think when you get an influencer the same way as an onboarding a new team member, but instead of like giving them limits, you want to give them guidelines on how you want the product to be perceived, the best selling points of your product. But I would say never limit the creativity or approach, because giving them the creative freedom within your guidelines obviously also allows them to brainstorm themselves and come up with the unique presentation angles of your product, which then you can further develop as a selling point or as a perspective into your own content in your official distribution channels. Now, even with that said, it is still very important to send a brief to every single influencer that you onboard or that you make an agreement with. If you're not sure what the brief should include, use the clear framework as below. So C basically is for context. You want to explain the problem that the product solves and list all of the use cases that you have available. L is basically limits. You want to limit the brand voice, the visual guidelines, how you want it to be represented, or even the visual or graphic representation level. E is expectation, which is for key metrics, deliverables, the frequency of posts, and obviously the success signals. A is for autonomy. This is basically where you reinforce the creative freedom that the influencer has, which makes them think outside of the box. The R is for review, and this is exactly where you tell them how and when feedback will happen, and you will give good examples of what has worked well in the past, or you can list the best bets that you can take on that will work. And by the way, you do not have to overthink this. Just having a Google document that goes through the whole process with influencers, maybe on a live call, or you can even send it separately to them, is more than enough when you get started. Now, in terms of this process, how I onboard them, here's what I would improve. Now, for me, the Google Doc worked okay for now, but I'm sure that everything will go much better if I send them, let's say, 50 to 20 minutes of video presentations, where this could serve like a mini course, which gets updated regularly, which will include content like what thumbnails worked best with our product, headline or title formulas that have outperformed, or something like 47 hook templates that capture attention of our target audience. Basically, this would be anything that improves their chances for success. So I also plan to add on and improve by end of month a framework for post onboarding. So basically, we have a communication cadence or frequency on some sort of bi-weekly review or a brainstorming session where we co-brainstorm or come up with ideas together. Now, most think of content creators as top of funnel assets. In that case, measuring a campaign success via reach or website visits is fair. But if you really want to unlock a goldmine, think of the other layers of marketing that influencers can contribute or help with. Now, at middle of funnel, influencers can help with creating a lead magnet, basically collaborating on email marketing, or they can even run conversion campaigns with you. For example, one that I've seen previously work very well was sending a campaign where you tell people to upgrade to an annual license and you get X creators course for free. Now, I don't have hard data to prove this, but I would bet that if a content creator brings a user to your website, that user will have a higher likelihood to convert if they keep seeing the same creator during the conversion process. I think this can be as simple as showing the creator in a checkout banner, or maybe even featuring them again in your email follow-ups or in your conversion campaigns of your emails. Now, it also helps with maintaining familiarity and trust instead of breaking the connection at the most critical moment, which is the conversion. I've seen Go Eye Level do this very well. They actually go even an extra step where they create a custom landing page for each affiliate portfolio that they have. And this will just help with consistency and congruence throughout the whole user journey. I think this would work best with macro influencers, which would be more expensive, because you should be a bit more selective with who you associate with during the conversion stage as well. You want to make sure that you have a star, like a Michael Jordan of your industry. But at the middle of the funnel, it is fair to measure the campaign success via number of signups that they bring or a total conversion number. But then at the bottom of funnel, I want to think about making the community part of your moat and getting influencers to lead the community's activities. You can do this in multiple ways. One of them is to create courses, or basically they create courses, the influencers create courses inside of the community. This would be through weekly webinars that are hosted by the content creators inside the community. And this is also a very useful opportunity to upsell people from monthly to annual license, which is more bottom of funnel and increases LTV. And then you can also have influencers host a weekly onboarding call, which is done for all new users that join that week, for example. At this stage of the funnel, I think it is fair to measure the influencer's performance via lifetime value or upsell rate. Honestly, at this stage for me, what I plan to improve is enable UTM tracking per influencer and also create an influencer dashboard with real-time statistic of every single post that they've done. Now, I'm unsure if adding a leaderboard to this makes it more competitive between influencers, and I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but it's definitely something that I'm keeping in mind, and I definitely plan to gamify the whole influencer dashboard in some way. This is a new perspective to look at influencer marketing. Something you can take away from this video is that it's very clear that sending mass email with no personalized outreach is something that can be done by a robot, and you do not need someone to manage influencer marketing for that. But if you think about influencer marketing as not a single skill, but a bundle of many, it basically includes creating an offer just like a business, which is what I did with a retainer deal. It includes prospecting, which is picking the right influencers. It includes outreach, which is writing the right message and getting a reply for them and getting them engaged. And then you have to recruit and negotiate to tell them why your opportunity is better than the other ones, or even better than software companies that offer more money. And then you take them through onboarding, which obviously means you have to write the correct brief with the framework that I showed earlier. And then you also have to do project evaluation, basically choosing what to track, how to track it, and how often to do that. In this video, I covered a few aspects of how I created an offer, how to do onboarding, and how to evaluate performance. You want to see the rest of the steps and basically follow along on my diary of building growth at an early stage startup. And if you want to see real numbers, real mistake, real playbooks, which is not only theory, but actually tested in the field, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and go ahead and watch this video next.